This German family came to the U.S. 5 years ago, hoping to find refuge because they wanted to homeschool their children in freedom. And a federal judge granted them asylum, but the Obama administration's Justice Department has been trying to deport them, saying that homeschooling is not a right. The case is before a federal appeals court. Uwe and Hannelore Remica began homeschooling in Germany because they didn't want their children exposed to things like witchcraft and graphic sex education, both taught in German schools.
Also, there were stories where they were encouraged to ask the devil for help instead of God, and actually the devil would help.
We found out what is in the textbooks. It's exactly the opposite from what the Bible tells us and teaches us, and we wanted to protect them.
Homeschooling is illegal in Germany, except in rare cases. And many homeschooling parents are persecuted with fines, jail, or the loss of their children. Most homeschoolers in America are left alone by the government. But what if state and federal officials started to move against homeschooling? While homeschooling is legal in most European countries, in those nations where it is illegal, homeschoolers risk losing their children. Two of the worst nations for homeschoolers are Germany and Sweden. If you'd like to see what things might be like in America if homeschooling was banned, come to Sweden, where the government controls education and the homeschooling movement has been crushed. In fact, the head of the Homeschooling Association in Sweden, Jonas Himmelstrand, had to take his family into exile. They fled to Finland.
We're in exile. We were forced out of our country. And that makes a stronger impact than I could ever imagine. This was our country. This is where we had our friends, our business relationships, and a whole lot of things, and now we're pushed away from it.
Sweden is now one of the toughest places to homeschool. Michael Donnelly of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association.
This is incredible for a nation like Sweden that calls itself a free nation, a democracy, so to speak.
Ruby Harold Clausen, president of the Nordic Committee for Human Rights, goes even further, calling it a dictatorship, where social workers tell parents what to do.
Sweden seems to be a democracy, but it's far from it. It's a dictatorship. You have the social workers dictating how people are to live. You're not supposed to be different from anyone else in Sweden. Everyone is to be uniform. They want to have these cookie-cutter children.
Clausen is the lawyer representing Christer and Annie Johansson, who have lost custody of their son Dominic because of homeschooling. Annie's health is failing, and Christer says the stress of the ordeal is killing his wife.
So if we can't solve this issue soon, Dominic will not have a mother anymore.
Nations like Germany and Sweden could learn a thing or two about parents' rights from, of all places, Russia, which is one of the freest nations in which to homeschool. Pavel Parventiev is a Russian family policy expert.
We have a complete freedom of home education in Russia in terms of legality. The Russian Federation is sort of champion of human rights in this particular area. So, of course, I think it is a good example both for Germany and Sweden and other countries where home educators are persecuted.
German homeschooler Jürgen Dudek has been taken to court every year for the past 10 years by the Jugendamt, or youth office.
The youth office, I used to call it the Gestapo for the young. As soon as they step in, as soon as they get hold of you, you've really got problems.
German homeschooler Dirk Wunderlich and his wife have lost custody of their children, although they're still allowed to live with them. He told us he expects to go to jail, but says he will never stop homeschooling.
But I'm not afraid of this. It's only sad for my family, but I go laughing. You can do what you want. My children don't go to school.
In America, a red flag went up when the Justice Department argued in the Remica case that homeschooling is not a fundamental human right. A source close to the case told us the White House cares more about relations with Germany than the rights of a family, and asylum for the Remicas might open a floodgate of refugees from Germany, further embarrassing the German government. Uwe Remica, who makes his living as a piano teacher, knows what to expect if they're deported to Germany.
First, they would fine us with increasingly high fines, and they would threaten us to take away custody. There might be jail time too. But the main threat, I think, is the aspect of custody, because then, of course, the children are taken away from you completely, and I mean, that's what no family wants, right?
And he says the fact that the White House would be willing to deny homeschooling freedom to his family should make American homeschoolers concerned. Dale Hurd, CBN News.